Afternoon.
Good afternoon. You look like a little girl.
I think it's the hair.
Oh, that's yes.
Thanks. I need something different because I've been getting headaches and I just need to put my hair in a different position, but I actually really like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
Thank you. And how are you feeling today?
Um, like a busy bee. Yeah, doing
Mm,
a lot of work that supposed to be done long time ago. But I don't know. It could be a little bit of procrastination, or maybe just the weather because in Gold Coast it's raining for way too long. I don't mind rain, but sometimes it makes you feel lazy. Just
mm.
be in bed and read the book way of laziness.
Yeah, it's been getting colder here in Adelaide as well, and it's very much like I just want to get my pajamas, have a cup of tea, read my book, have my slippers on, all those sorts of things. So I think it's just that weather at the moment. But I've actually been very, like you said, like a little buzzy bee as well, and
Hmm.
been very busy and doing lots of things that have been on the list for far too long. So maybe it's just the season for getting things done while feeling a little cozy at the same time.
Maybe, or maybe we finally start changing the stories in our life,
Yeah,
or
and I've had a lot of experience with that this week.
oh,
Um, and it's interesting when I re-looked at our topic that we were going to talk about today and realized that that actually matches up. Um, so I guess before I tell you what's happened in my week, has there been any times that you've caught yourself recently living by a story that wasn't actually true for you anymore?
as usually, there was a similar question in one of our previous episodes. Well, not similar, but did I repeat lately something that belonged to old me, to say so? And to answer to that question, yes, maybe not every day, but for sure it's gonna happen, and some old stories are gonna come to the surface again. And what I'm learning is that's okay because at least now I have awareness of uh, many of them, and I can do something about that. So what
Mm,
happened recently, old story, could be not that it happened, but actually I remember something very interesting. It's a funny story, and you will recognize yourself in that story. Uh, for many, many years, maybe always, I used to say, I don't know how to cook. I'm really, really bad cook. I mean, I can burn water. And, but here I am, a mother, two kids, family, right? And I'm cooking. I don't know if they were happy. I'm not gonna ask them. Uh, but that story that started when I was like pretty young, it was really only that, a story. I don't know how to cook. I'm not as good as my mom. My mom was absolutely amazing, and everyone will remember her in a kitchen doing a magic. So it could be a reason why I decided not to be a good cook, and after a while it became a habit of saying, and then after so many years it was just a pattern. I convinced myself I can't do that, and my cooking was not so good. But then I forgot about the whole story, and I decided that I am boring and I'm gonna do something, I will start cooking. And I realized that that old story has nothing to do with my life. I don't know where is that coming from? Because now I'm creating a magic in a kitchen if I want. I'm not under the pressure to do that. But most of the things that I prepare are actually very tasty, and I even got a compliment. So isn't that very simple example how can the stories that actually live somewhere in our subconscious that we accepted as reality can rule the life, even the simple
Mm,
story of that. And I can imagine if we have all these hidden identities that we are not aware of. So if
yeah,
that's answering your question, I don't know.
I think it definitely is. And like you said, I can absolutely relate. I was always told that I couldn't cook very well, and I believed that. Um, even when I lived by myself, I lived off of for 6 months canned baked beans one night, and then the opposing night I would have a stir fry, which was the same four vegetables every time with soy sauce. That was it, like no rice, no noodles, no variety. And I lived off that for 6 months because I believed that I couldn't cook. And now I'm the main cook in my house. And I get compliments on my cooking and I cook for my family and I'm the one that cooks all our Christmas dinners now, which is really interesting. Like it's not just like I do in my world, but I actually cook for other people quite actively. And it is interesting how we take these stories and we make it our whole identity. And then
Hmm.
there's a point in our lives where we go, like you said, like not even sure why I believed that,
Yeah.
not even sure where it came from. Um, I had an experience actually this week where I saw these old stories coming in, and they're very much linked in from when I had chronic fatigue. And because I had that for 4 to 5 years, there's so much that comes with chronic health issues. And a big part of that was the brain fog and the lack of energy to do anything. And so, like, I would struggle to carry my own groceries, let alone actually do anything that took any brain power. And my whole body, my whole brain, like everything was exhausted all the time. And if you spoke to me and had a conversation with me, you could see it. Like it was very visible how much I was struggling. And what I find has come up this week is that um, when I get tired, and it's a bit of a pattern now, if I get tired and I go, okay, no worries, I'm going to rest a little bit. I can tell I'm a little bit tired at the moment. I've done a lot recently, whatever that looks like. Once it gets to a point where, depending on the reason why I think I'm tired, like if it gets to about that 5 to 7 day mark, I start to go, oh, this is all too hard. I'm too tired to do anything. Oh, this sucks. How can I reboot this? How can I push past it? How can I ignore it? And how can I, while trying to ignore it, also try to avoid doing anything that might take my energy for fear that it's going to put me back into this place of chronic illness. And it's definitely one of those stories that I've had to deal with coming up over and over again. And this was the first time I think it's come up and I haven't got sucked into it, which was really nice. Like I could see it coming up. And I did have a day there where I was a little bit like, whew, this is hard.
Mhm.
And I could see the avoidance coming up. I could see those things. And I think sometimes it's what's the consequence of that story. So, like for you, it was that you didn't cook for a long time when you actually now really enjoy it. And that's something that you love to do and it gives you some creativity as well. Um, for me, the consequence of not cooking meant that I had no variety in what I ate for a long time because I just didn't know how to make it for myself. And the consequence of this one is that if I believed those stories, that when I'm a little bit tired now, that I absolutely can't do anything, nothing would get done. and I wouldn't get to live this life that I have because I know how to rest for myself now and I know how to balance that out. So it's not like I'm not resting. But I would miss out on all that other stuff. Like I would cancel things like doing this because I go, I'm too tired and I can't do it. And I'd miss out creating the life that I actually want to have. And I think that's something that we get too scared to look at is what is the consequences when we believe these stories about ourselves that whilst they may have been true at some point, maybe they don't fit anymore, or maybe they never fit at all.
Yes. Oh my God. Uh, the cost of letting those stories to run our life, I think, is the most important question in today's conversation between you and me. The strange thing about those hidden identities is that they live um, underneath us in our subconscious, right? And but the question is, where do they come from? You know, is that our childhood? Most probably. Community? Is that the kids we went in school with? Maybe something that teacher said, or maybe something that parents did not say to us. It could be from anywhere. And our brain registered that, and then it turned into belief, into a habit, like you had a habit with your fatigue and being in that space, doing nothing, and then become a pattern. So, what is the cost of the pattern in your case? What is the cost of my pattern of not thinking that I cannot cook? I just used that simple example, but the story can be much, much deeper. And um, as I said, what is the, if it's hidden, how we will know that the story exists in our
Mm,
subconscious that is actually running our life if we are not aware of that. So yes, it can cost. It costs me, for example, having a gathering of my family or friends, and here I am being a master chef as I am today, and feeling good about that. So yeah, there is a cost. So let's find out the hidden stories that ruining our life.
absolutely. And before we dive all the way into that, I would love to know. So you just mentioned like the cost is for you, those family gatherings. And I know you're going to visit your family this year. So are you going to cook for them? Are you going to shift that
Yes.
story?
Well, how did you know? Well, just yesterday I was sitting here and thinking, oh, I can cook this, I can cook that, because my daughter and her kids visited me here in Australia um, 2 years ago, and I did cook for them, and my daughter was pleasantly surprised, and she keeps saying, "Why are you saying you don't know how to cook?" So, um, yeah, that was interesting, and something come up in my mind. Was that a habit? Or maybe sometimes I use that as excuse. I don't know. Don't say it to anyone. But anyway, let's forget about cooking. I will share something actually a little bit deeper than that so the people can recognize themselves. So, one of the stories that I believed too long was that I am not interesting and lovable enough for anyone to notice me, and not smart enough in an obvious way, right? So I'm, I believe that I'm not kind of woman that will enter in a room and then everyone will notice me and they turn their head, not because of my views, just the energy that I carry on. I was kind of woman that will enter the room and wondering if I supposed to apologize because I am in the room. So that was the story that I was carrying on for way too long. Um, if someone give me attention, I will be too shy. I will try to avoid that attention. If before I even made mistake or I did not make mistake at all, if someone just start talking about anything, I will feel guilty without reason, but I feel guilty because maybe it's my fault. So it was going on and on. It built, what is the cost of that story was building a lot of insecurity, becoming dependent on other people in my life, on my family, on how the friends see me, on my husband. um, so when I turned 50, something shifted, and that was that being dependent on someone else and being that insecure mode in every sphere in your life, thinking that I am not lovable and interesting and not good enough, not loud enough or too loud or whatever we have all these stories in our head, they just become ridiculous to say like that. Really, I realize this is ridiculous. If I'm all alone in the world, there is no one to help me. I depend on myself. So why wouldn't I just be who I am? And I know many people would not like me as I am today, but that's okay. That's okay because I don't want to pay the price anymore. I just really, really want to enjoy it and being the woman who I am. Look, I did not become wake up and then I become I don't know, Madonna with a Serbian accent, but I did really shift, and I love I love the awareness that I have around that now.
Amazing.
So yeah.
And I think that the story that you've shared is one that so many people resonate with. Um,
Hmm.
I know that I was very much the same, and I can't quite remember the point that it shifted specifically. I think there's maybe a few moments for me, but um, very much had that insecurity of I'm too much, I'm too loud, I talk too fast, I laugh too loud, my smile is too big, and I take up too much space. And what am I even doing here? Because I don't understand how to fit into this space. And I know that I'm supposed to. And it's interesting how all consuming that can be. And I think that it's a great thing to bring up because sometimes these stories, they can be really obvious that they don't fit us like that. They can be the ones about I'm insecure and no one loves me, and they can be sort of easier to recognize. And then they can be those stories that are harder to recognize. They become our identities, like I don't know how to cook. Um, or from experiences that we've been through where it takes a while, like with my fatigue, to shift from that protection mode of being so sick for so long into I'm actually okay and I'm thriving now and I don't need to try and protect myself all the time. And so we've got these different like layers and levels of different types of stories. And I think something I'd love to know is now when you notice a story that doesn't
Hmm.
fit you anymore, how do you know that it no longer fits?
There is a, and I, in our conversations, I did mention that a couple of times. There is a rebellious part of personality. Maybe that teenage girl that start creating a story that I have to adjust to other people, not to who I am, and that the identity that I would like to be will not be accepted by other people. But that rebellious part start to be very alive in the last couple of years, and not rebellious, but not in a way that that I will say, I don't care anymore what other people are saying, or, I don't need anyone. Not in that dramatic way, on the opposite side. More rebellious, like I can feel sometimes in my chest, sometimes in my throat, that whatever is coming, whatever I'm saying, is not aligned with me anymore. There is a discomfort. It doesn't sit well. I feel a knot in my stomach, or suddenly my voice is different, whatever. Um, I recognize that now as a sign that I am going away from who I am. And as I said, many people would not like the change that they can see um, in you, and that's still okay. They can get used, they can accept, or they can go away. We can't do anything about that, and it's not our responsibility. But yes, we do have responsibility to follow that discomfort and find out why we feel like that. Is there anything that I need to change? Is this me? Is this mine? Who told me I don't know how to cook? Who convinced me the first time? So, yeah, you don't have to really go deep. Just follow what you feel. We are disconnected from our bodies. We are definitely. And I think that's the first step. Instead of sitting constantly in your mind, in your head, rehearsing the old stories, the old patterns, try to do something else. Try to connect more with what you feel in those moments. And you don't need anyone else to tell you. But it's not easy. And sometimes you do need someone to tell you. Like I need Molly.
Yes, we do a lot of coaching with each other around the things that make us uncomfortable because sometimes you do need someone else to sit there and help you see it when you are trying to lie to yourself and you don't want to do that anymore, but it feels a little bit scary trying to swallow that truth by yourself.
Mm,
It's okay to bring someone else into that, and it's okay to have someone else come in as a comfort in not being alone because
yes,
as we talk about all of our conversations, we tell each other something and the other person always goes, yeah, I felt that too. I
yes,
can relate to that. um and suddenly it's a little bit less scary because someone else is there with you. And I think the same, I love that you use the word discomfort because something that I have noticed a lot in the Tai Chi classes that I've taught this week is that people just don't want to get into their bodies very much. And this is where it can be a little bit tricky. Like people are so unfamiliar with just pausing and dropping into how they feel in their bodies. And when people do that in coaching and in Tai Chi, all they've seen is positive results. All they've seen is people go, oh, yeah, that feels better in some way, shape, or form every single time. And so I am a huge advocate for it, but just like you, I feel a lot of stuff in my body. And it's that moment, even if you're not used to dropping into your body, it's that moment of you're trying to say something and it doesn't feel right. And for me, it's very much I think I almost feel exhausted by it.
Mm.
Like the story itself is what makes me tired. And I kind of go, oh, that actually makes me really frustrated. That that actually makes me feel really tired and drained. The fact that I think I'm too tired to do anything, it's exhausting. The fact that I really want to cook but believe that I can't, and that barrier that's there is really exhausting because all I want to do is push through it. Um, and for me, that's what it feels like. It's this real draining, ugh, that again,
Yeah,
that that thing that's there, like how annoying. And that's sort of to me is the point where I go, maybe that's not true anymore. If it's that annoying, if it's that frustrating, if it's that exhausting,
yeah,
then can I change it? Is it actually true? Is there like what if I just put that belief aside for a second and um, had a look at what's actually going on in front of me and looked at what the reality is in front of me. And so like when I first started cooking, I put that belief aside and went, I'm just going to put a recipe in front of me. I'm going to suspend that belief for a minute and see what happens when I follow it. And not only did the food turn out great, but other people tried it because I was living with other people at the time and they all went, oh, this is really nice. Like, why don't you cook more often? And it's not letting yourself go, oh, no, 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 I can't cook. It's just letting yourself go, this is the reality. I've made a meal, it's turned
yeah.
out, and I've liked it and other people have liked it. What does that tell me? And it's the same with like my fatigue this week. It was, what if I put those beliefs aside for a minute and I still show up? What actually happens? How do I feel in my body? What is the feedback that I get from my body, from how I feel, from, mentally how I'm thinking about myself? And what does that actually tell me? And can that be the new story that I can bring in? Which takes a little bit of time. It does take time to really start to integrate that new story, really start to believe that new story. But that doesn't mean that we can't shift and we can't change because at the end of the day, if we believe the old stuff, there's no reason why we can't believe something else.
Yes, definitely. Well, the same way we build that identity, we can change, reset. Um, there is one thing that could be actually hard,
Mm,
and why we are very often go back to that old identity is that there is a part of us that might be or might feel felt scared to let go of that story because story can be really deep part of our identity. And if I don't have, like in a victimhood, if I'm not a victim, then who am I?
hmm
Uh, coming from a very abusive relationship, I I've been in victimhood for many years. And I was not aware at all. So the story that I was telling, not as much to myself as when someone asked me who I am, that's how I was describing myself. Not literally saying, "Oh, I am a victim," but maybe yes, maybe even yes. But repeating too many times, it's become a part of who I am. And
hmm
if I don't have that victim story, that said terrible things that happened and destroyed a part of my life, and if I don't have that one person to be blamed for everything what happened in my life, then who am I? And it was going in a circle like this, constantly looping in my head throughout my life. So no, it's not easy, and it could be scary until you realize that, for example, that victimhood story cost me intimacy, cost me maybe having a better, a beautiful relationship, cost me trusting in the people around me. Um, there was no progress if you're staying in these old identities that are not doing anything good for your life. There is no progress. There is no quality in that life.
Mm,
So, yes, it's not easy, but it's possible. Because
absolutely.
once when I become aware that I am not a victim, I'm a survivor, my whole identity changed.
Mm,
I literally stopped crying over whatever happened in my life. Stop blaming that person who caused the misery in my life because you found a way to forgive. So, yeah, the
mm,
identities and story that we carry with identities can be really heavy, but they don't have to identify us as
yeah.
long as we are alive.
This is such a beautiful place to take it to because I was actually thinking about a very similar thing this morning when I was making breakfast. And I was remembering when, like, after going through abuse as well and coming out of that, and then I went through the phase of the depression, and that lasted quite a while. And when I was in that, I almost wanted to seek out other stories that were going to keep me in that space because whilst it was painful, it was mine and it was familiar.
Yeah.
And you're right, it can be really hard when we go, well, who am I if I'm not that person anymore? And like we've talked about in episodes before, like we are supposed to transition and change and grow. And it's okay to be in these spaces for a point, for a moment. And that moment looks different for everybody. But once we notice that that doesn't align for us anymore, once we notice that, okay, this actually isn't serving me, this isn't getting me to where I want to be, and it's not helping me live as the person that I know that I am and that I know that I want to be, then it takes a little bit of courage to put that down and find out, who am I when I don't believe these stories? Who am I when I no longer identify myself in this particular way? And what happens when I do that? And just starting to play with that a little bit. What happens when, like you mentioned, I'm no longer a victim? Who do I get to be? And that can be terrifying, but it can also be exciting. And we forget that everything that's scary can also tell us, like, fear can tell us why something's important. And we talked about this earlier this week as well amongst ourselves, where I was feeling a lot of fear around something. And I came in and I had some coaching with Eleonora and we talked, and it really stood out to me then that the fear was actually showing me why this thing was so important. Yes, it's scary, but it was scary because it was important to me. It was scary because I had a lot of value on it. And suddenly realizing how important that was helped me look at it through a different lens of, this is actually exciting. What's the cool things that are behind this? What could be on the other side of that? And at the end of the day, if you start to explore and that sucks and you want to go back to your old story because you realize that actually that's truly who I am, no worries. Do that. But don't go back to it just because it feels easy and there's a little bit of fear there. Like that's where we hold ourselves.
Yes, they can be like, those old rusty cages.
Mm-hmm.
They can feel, oh, it doesn't matter, it's old, it's rusty, but I feel safe. So don't open the door, I don't want to go out. It's familiar. Yeah,
Yeah.
you got a point there. The familiarity, or as everyone knows, as comfort zone, can keep us stuck. And a part of that comfort zone is definitely identity and identity stories that we keep repeating. Um, but there is a reason why they are hidden. So um, a little bit of exploration and, research and having a good look at ourselves, maybe journaling, maybe creating art, whatever, found that peaceful moment where you can look into yourself and find out what is behind everything what I'm saying every day. Um, this this subject actually remind me of something that I read or heard. Doesn't matter. Um, who are you? If I ask you who are you, Molly, and I don't want you to answer me uh, saying your title, your name, your nationality, where you're coming from, just to describe me who you are. And I read that and I'm thinking, I don't know.
Mm.
How, it's such a hard question because we used to say, hi, I'm Eleonora, I'm a life coach. Yeah, it's okay, you can roll your eyes. Yeah, I'm doing this and that. I'm coming from Serbia. I have a very bad accent. I do not speak English or la 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 la. But who am I really?
Yeah.
That's the moment when you start asking yourself, wait, let's hear all the stories that we have in our head. Yeah.
Mm. And if you're watching this and you're feeling the same way, you're going, wow, I feel like I couldn't answer that question. Something to think about is what are your attributes? How do you see yourself as a friend? How do you see yourself as a parent or a family member or a partner or a co-worker or, a community that you're a part of and not what you do for other people, but the intentions behind it. So are you kind and caring? Are you compassionate? Are you the friendly person that starts conversation with everyone? Um, are you the person that really likes to have a bit of time to themselves or loves being around people all the time? Like start to think about what is those qualities that come through in the things that you do that make you feel really good and that feel really aligned with you. And that's where you'll start to see some of that truth coming through of who you are at your core. And then are there any stories that don't align with that person that you know yourself to be? And there may be the stories to start having a look at to go, well, is this actually still me? Or is that an old version of me? Or is that just something that I believed for a little while? And really looking at, if you're not performing for anybody else, who are you? And there'll be beautiful stories that can be attached to that really do align. Um, but you're right, we get very caught up with this idea that when we meet somebody, we are all these labels. We are our nationality and, our gender and our age and all of these other things. And it's definitely interesting. And I have it when I teach Tai Chi. I teach Tai Chi to people that are generally at least twice my age, if not older. And there's a
Wow.
part of me that sometimes feels like when they walk into the room and they haven't met me before, and you can see them looking around to be like, who's the teacher? And, you know, where do I ask questions? And I always go over and introduce myself. And I just say, hi, I'm Molly. I'm the Tai Chi instructor. And I leave it at that. But there has been moments where I've wanted to go, oh, I know I'm a bit young, but
Hmm.
I've got these qualifications, and it's like, I don't even know if they're thinking that. It's just this story that sometimes pops into your, oh, but your age. How are you
Yeah.
going to relate to these people? And I know how to relate to these people. I know what my story is of my journey and the reasons why Tai Chi has been helpful to me and how that relates to people, even if they are a vastly different age to me. But I don't then need to worry about the stories of what if they judge me? What if they think I'm not qualified? What if they, I let those ones go.
Mm-hmm.
And if people want to ask me questions, they'll ask me questions because who I am at my core is I'm someone that's quite approachable and quite open and transparent and authentic. And I will spend the time, especially to speak to people like in my Tai Chi class if they want to come talk to me afterwards. And you see so many people come up because, like you said, like when you walk into the room with that energy of who you are, like you were talking about earlier, that that shows people. People see that. You don't have to walk in and go, oh, I'm a this and I'm a that and I can do this and I can't do that. It's more about you knowing who you are and what stories are aligning with you at the moment and what feels good for you right now and who you are in this space and time and in this moment. And by you having that knowledge and doing that exploration, having that understanding for yourself, it will just flow out into the
Yeah.
people that are around you without you having to go and tell them who you are as well. I think when we have to tell people who we are, not always, but quite often, that's when there's that misalignment happening.
Yes. Um, Absolutely. And that being authentic in those moments, it will bring that ripple effect. At least that's what I noticed. Every time when I allowed myself to be vulnerable, because I feel in that moment that I am vulnerable and I want to share that very hard word for me to pronounce in English. um, but I do that anyway, um, not to shock the people, just I was asked and I have a need to share that with you because I feel safe, but in my authentic way. Um, it just creates the same um, effect and confirming that when you are who you are, that's what you get. So instead of looking into other people and being their mirror, like, oh, what do you like? Oh, you want me today to be a happy person. Okay, I'm going to be a happy person. Oh, you don't want me today to have a headache. Oh, okay, I have a terrible headache, but you will never know because I will smile and do, you know, what we are
Mm-hmm.
doing. Please other people. And I can see how every conversation that we have until now, not the one that we recorded, but many others that we had in a year and so, um, how they are connected from people pleasing, self trust, uh, hidden identities, uh, and how deep we can go with all that, or stay on the surface of every story and be happy with that or not.
Definitely. And I was about to say the same thing. I'm really noticing there's a real crossover with the people pleasing and things as well, with those stories that we hold on to because we're not sure how other people will take it. And to have that little bit of self trust as well, to trust ourselves, to do the exploration and to shift into back into alignment with who we are at our core. And it has me thinking about sometimes these stories are built out of people pleasing and that external. And what is it when we hold on to those stories for ourselves and we think we need to hold on to them? Like, are we still
Hmm.
externally people pleasing, even though we don't really know? Like you said, like who did let me believe that I wasn't a good cook? Um, who are we actually trying to please when we hold on to those stories? Is it ourselves? Is it someone else? I don't know, but it's something that's interesting to think about.
Yes, exactly. And maybe to mention that there is a little trap once when you become aware and before that new story is established, um, being for too long in between space between two identities could be also damaging.
Mm,
And many people actually stayed in that space, maybe because they don't know how to change, how to lead themselves through the process. Or maybe I had a client um, for the last year I worked with her, and um, in one moment, after so many beautiful changes that I noticed in her, she just said, oh, I have enough. It's just too much. And why we have to change everything? Why? So yeah, it could be sometimes overwhelming, but a little bit of compassion towards ourselves. Take a break, have a vacation, read a book, watch the movie, procrastinate that in between space. It's allowed, but just don't stay too long. Ask for help. I don't know, talk with your best friend. If you don't have a best friend, talk with Molly. Oh, you can talk with me, of course. Talk with us, ask us the questions. We are not smart, but we are smart. Correction. We don't know everything. We don't know every answer, but we like to explore. We love to discuss. We love to swim in a deep water, and then everything what we learn to pass to someone else. So I can't remember what I start talking about, but I guess it's a space in between.
absolutely, definitely, and that's okay because I've got you. Um, I I love the part where you were talking about um now I've lost it. Give me a sec. Where you were talking about sometimes we can get stuck in that in-between space, but it also can be overwhelming to continuously explore all the time. And we do need a break from that, just like everything else. Like we're human and there's so much depth that we can just dive into all at once. And so, do the self-care, look after yourself, go outside, like fresh air and sunshine and putting your feet on the ground just does
Yeah,
so much for you. Yeah. And, get creative, read a book, put on a movie, do those things that help you just rest and switch off for a little bit as well. But like Eleonora said, it's about not getting stuck in one place. And
yeah,
we just take these little steps and these little moments to move forward into who we want to be. And going through some of those old stories and letting them go can be really hard and really daunting. And
mm,
it's okay to take your time with it. It's okay to take your time with moving through them and to have those breaks as well. And just noticing, am I choosing to stay in the in between or am I choosing to see it as the in between and then continue to move forwards? And um, as you can probably tell from our conversations today, we're both coaches, we're both trained, we've both had a lot of coaching, and we still sometimes have those moments come up where we do
definitely.
get pulled back and we do get pulled into the in between a little bit. And it's a practice and it's a journey and it's choosing to show up to yourself, even when it's a little bit hard, because who you are is usually going to be pretty amazing and they're usually going to be a pretty cool person. And not being who you are, in my experience, and living a life that is not in alignment is painful. And
Yes,
living one that is in alignment and being able to shift towards that can bring so much joy. And when you get there, it can bring so much ease as well, because you get to just be you at the end of
yes,
it.
absolutely beautiful. And I love that part when you're mentioning the pain, because the pain can be also physical. And I strongly believe in that as someone, and you will resonate too, as someone who have a chronic headache. Um, no one can find out what is the source of that pain in my head, but it's very often coming when I am not aligned with myself and I'm not even aware, or I'm in a stress mode, or I'm just sitting there and remembering something that I'm not processing in the right way. So the pain can be real physical, and it's all about choice. When you
Mm.
recognize your old identity, everything is up to you. To you. Are you choosing to stay in that old rusty cage, or open the door and touch the ground, ground yourself, touch the tree? Oh no, they're gonna call us tree huggers now. Never mind.
Okay with that. I am 100% okay
I'm
with that.
okay. I'm okay it, with that for the last 2 years, and probably forever, because I'm not hiding anymore.
I love that. I remember the first time I hugged a tree and I was like, yeah, like people do,
Yes,
they look at you funny and you're like, sometimes I have not been in nature for my whole life and I just need this moment to connect. But that's exactly what I was going to say is I'm imagining this rusty cage as you open the door and there's a whole forest to explore and you get to
yes,
go and peek and see what's behind the trees and there might be some cool looking mushrooms or some pretty flowers and there might be some flowers that you go and sniff and you go, oh, that's disgusting. I don't want to go near that flower anymore. And so you go and find the flowers that do smell really pretty and you might do some cloud gazing and like, there's so many different things that you can look at and you pick up rocks and you see what's hiding underneath them. And that's what it's like when you get to explore yourself and let go of these stories and get out of that cage is you don't have to pick up the first story you find. You can try them on. You can see what fits. And if you don't like something, go and find something else. Just like if the flowers do smell funky, go and find ones that smell pretty. Go and find ones that make you go, yeah, reminds me of, I don't
exactly.
know, being a little girl and believing in
Yes,
fairies, whatever it is. Um, so I'd love to end on today. What is what is one thing about yourself that you love now that you get to live within alignment with yourself?
oh, many things. Oh, I'm very excited. Many things. Um, the way I will hide what I like. I mean,
Mm,
stories. Um, when I was teenager, I believe in astrology. I love horoscopes. I was reading everything about that. But then someone says, ah, that's nonsense. Everyone asking, well, what is your sign? So, my friend, so I stopped doing that. I found my passion again about astrology, and now I'm not scared to say that. I love crystals. Can they help me? I don't care if I believe they can help me. Um, I love that I am not hiding that when I need to calm down my busy mind before bed, that I will light the candle and burn the sage or whatever. And I know the people from, especially the people from my country where I'm coming from, and I'm not saying this is negative context, but many of them would not understand. will say, oh, she's like a witch. And it's okay. I'm happy to be a witch. The point is, so many things that I uh, put somewhere deep inside and forgot about that. Absolutely. It's present in my life. I don't know for how long, but as long as they make me feel like this, like happy and like I don't care, I feel good, they will be there. And it could be something significant or something really not so important. It doesn't matter, the feeling is same. Trust me, the feeling is same. So yes, I changed so many beliefs and I'm still working on my patterns, but I have knowledge. But once when you start exploring this um, this funny feelings of excitement is behind every exploration that you do. So I hope that answering your question.
Yeah, and I can see that excitement coming out within you
Yeah,
when you're talking about it as well. Like your whole face changes, and that's the point.
yes,
The thing that I think I really love at the moment, because I've got to let go of all those stories about how insecure I am or how I can't do things, is the joy that I get by getting to connect with people in the way that I do. Like the pure joy that I get from coaching, from holding workshops, from being in a room and doing Tai Chi with people. I still get nervous every time I walk in that room to do Tai Chi, or every time I sit down with a brand new client. I still get nervous, and I still get those stories try to come through of, what if you can't do it? What if you're not trained enough? What if whatever it is? And but I know that if I don't listen to them and I just get to show up as who I know that I can be, I
mm,
get these incredible interactions that I get to have. And like, I just, the immense joy that I get when someone comes up to me after a Tai Chi class or after a coaching session and they go, I really needed that. Wow, I feel so much more like myself. I can't explain it. It's the best high. And I held myself back from that for so many years, from believing these stories, and I will never do it again, because I get so much joy in my life that I could be having the worst day and I will still make time for those things because I know how good it's going to feel. So
yes,
that's my one thing that is really standing out that I get to do now that I've let go of all those stories that didn't align with me.
yes, absolutely. Look, everyone has their own story, their own identity, um, their own way how will they deal with that. But this is our, and this is what we wanted to share um, with everyone. Maybe just as a reminder, because we have, as a human beings, that funny tendency to forget what is important for us. So the way how you show up, and that's what they teach us in a school. The way how you show up for others is the way how you show up for yourself. So maybe sit down and think about that will help to identify something hidden deep inside that is not in line with us anymore.
Beautiful. What an amazing note to end on.
Yes,
Incredible. Well, this is between us. We've been here for a little while now. We don't need to explain it. But if you loved what we talked about, we do have some other videos where we talk about self trust, we talk about people pleasing. If you haven't seen them and this resonates, maybe go and have a look at those at some point as well and see how that all starts to intertwine. And as always, just take what you need, take what feels good. You don't need to take everything all at once. And remember that we're always here. You can drop into the comments, you can drop into our inbox, and we're always here if you need to reach out.
Yes, we love questions. And we love our tea. So next time when you join us, don't forget, make a tea.
Beautiful. Until next time.
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.